My dear brothers and sisters in Jesus Christ, we are celebrating the 13th Sunday of Ordinary Time. The readings of this Sunday taken from the Book of Wisdom, chapter 1, St. Paul's second letter to Corinthians, chapter 8, and the Gospel passage according to Mark, chapter 5. All these readings help us to reflect and understand a kind of question or exclamation: who can touch Jesus' garments? Who can touch Jesus' garments? Those who keep on believing. Those who keep on believing can touch the garments of Jesus and be healed. We have today a wonderful passage from the Gospel according to Mark, which explains and narrates the life events of two little daughters. One is a daughter of God, the other one is a daughter of Jairus. These two women figures help us how those who related to them, when they keep on believing, can experience life. As we look into this understanding and the point of our reflection, who can touch Jesus' garments? Within this theme, we think about or reflect upon four fundamental convictions that we have. From the Book of Wisdom, we understand that one of the convictions that we have, that God has given us life and not death. The death entered because of the envy of the devil. But we have, from the origins of the creation, a life which God has given based on His own character. His own character, the very image and reflection and the likeness of God's life. And therefore, from death to life is one of the fundamental convictions. The second conviction is about riches and poverty. Both riches and poverty, according to Christian understanding, is quite different. We think about or relate both riches and poverty in respect to Jesus Christ. We are made rich in the poverty of Jesus. St. Paul tells to the community at Corinth that Jesus, although He was rich, He became poor for us so that in His poverty we can become rich. This is one of the fundamental conviction and understanding of how we consider riches and poverty in Christian perspective. The third fundamental conviction is about something that you and me hold very close to our heart, touching or taking recourse to the relics of the holy persons, the relics of the holy saints, the image and the relics that we have in respect to Jesus. When we touch them, we have the belief that we will be healed. This is another fundamental conviction that we have or we can understand in the Gospel passage today. The final one which we need to understand is about how we look at death. The passage today that narrates about the daughter of Jairus and the other woman suffering for 12 years with hemorrhage or a kind of disease with the flowing blood show us how Jesus teaches us and helps us to consider our perspective of looking at death and about looking at life. The word that is used is, the girl is sleeping, she is not dead. That's how Jesus tells the closest disciples and those people who are gathered in the room of Jairus' family. So therefore, these convictions, we will just see and understand how the readings of this Sunday enable us to get deep into these convictions. The first one is about death and life. The Book of Wisdom is one book that speaks more of life and how wisdom facilitates, or let's say helps us to attain this kind of meaning in life. And one of the fundamental problems that we have is about how to understand the reality of death. We all know that one day we will die. But the death that we experience on a daily basis when we go away from God, when we are in sin, is a kind of terrible death which does not help us to experience the life of grace that God has given. So the Book of Wisdom enables us to understand life on a daily basis and the life that we live following the statutes and commandments of God. The second thing is about how St. Paul helps the community at Corinth to understand how greatly they have been blessed by the person of Jesus Christ. We know that community at Corinth is a wonderful community, a community blessed with lot of benefits and graces from Jesus Christ. In chapter 1 of Corinthians, as well as in 1 Corinthians and chapter 12 of 1 Corinthians, we know how greatly the community at Corinth exercised the charismata, the various gifts. And therefore, St. Paul tells you are able to excel in faith, you are able to excel in other great works, you are able to excel in knowledge and discernment. Paul simply appreciates the community. As he appreciates the community, one thing he reminds them, like Jesus reminded that young man, you have done everything except that you need to sell what you have. That man possessed a great wealth. Similarly, the community at Corinth had great wealth, and now Paul is inviting them, enabling them to understand that they need to help the church in Jerusalem, which is poor and suffering. The community is encouraged. The church in Macedonia has given greatly help to the community. Titus has taken this message and wrote and communicated to Paul, and Paul now understands that community at Corinth needs to excel in this. But all this excelling is possible when we hold the fundamental conviction that we are closer to Jesus, and then we can be healed by the person of Jesus. 2-3 incidents of this gospel passage enable us to understand that. The Jairus and his daughter. This man is making a petition. This making a petition and worshipping Jesus is understandable in the 5th chapter. There is a dramatic shift taking place in this 5th chapter. Jesus is on the one side of the lake, Sea of Galilee, that is the land of Gerasene, a Gentile land. Now he comes to the other side, the Jewish side of Galilee, and there he meets one of the synagogue officials, that is called Jairus. Jairus simply means Yair or Yair, which both mean he who enlightens and he who enables us to understand, or he who awakens us. So he who enlightens us and he who awakens us is now entering into a personal encounter with Jesus. This is the person who keeps on moving with the faith in Jesus. And this person, again one other person, the little woman or the woman who is suffering for long years, holds this conviction, if only I can touch his garments, I would be healed. Jesus enters into these persons and their lives, and their convictions are now justified. From death to life, they are making journey. From grace, they are sharing their journey and giving life to other persons. And therefore, my dear brothers and sisters, there is quite a lot we can reflect about the passage today. But one thing we need to remember, that fundamental conviction of being healed by Jesus, and for that we can touch his garments and be healed only when we keep on believing in the grace and in the power of Jesus. May this belief sustain us and enable us a healthy life in Christian beliefs. May God bless you and me. Amen.